It is podcast time here at Keystone and more. We're going to talk about some MLB finally. And first, we're going to get into some stadium series that happened last night. Nick, before we start and get your opinion on this, I want everyone to listen to what my friend put on his story yesterday after the game.
No.
Let's listen in. Here we go.
No. They should not be shaking hands. They should not be shaking hands. But whatever. Fuck the Pens. The Flyers are the most dominant team in Pennsylvania. No doubt about it. Don't even fucking challenge on this shit. I will destroy you immediately. More wins against the Penguins. More cups in the 70s than the Penguins. More wins in the 80s. Cry. Fuck the Pens.
Okay, so that was my friend here, Nick, that is on here. Nick, I love you, but let's get into this. Okay, number one, fuck the Pens. Okay, cool, you can say that. More cups in the 70s? Really? Is that your argument? That's so irrelevant here. More cups in the 80s? So irrelevant. More wins on a daily basis? Okay, I'll give you that. You guys are leading the series. But seriously, you guys are not even in the playoff spot. We won't make the playoffs. You can't argue that you're the better seed because we won more cups than you guys in the last couple of years. We have a better
record. This cool team. I think you're forgetting about this really cool team. They play in a terrible hockey market. They're named the Carolina Hurricanes, and they're better than you guys. The Carolina Hurricanes can beat us. You guys come into our stadium, Lincoln Financial Field. You are winning 3-1 with 5 minutes to go, and you choke. You choke. You say bye-bye. You just say, okay, I thought they had this in the bag. Everyone on that Penguins team thought it was over, and the Flyers said, F you, mofos. We don't deal with that here in Philly. Here's the thing. This is, like, to me, and I think such a big game, obviously. Such a big game. The Penguins win that game, they are in the playoff. The Flyers winning that game has kept them in the playoff race, which I hate. I want them to drop out of the playoff race, get the number one pick in the draft. But they're not going to do that because I don't know why. They're being dicks about it. Just get the number one pick in the draft. It's so good. But they don't want to do that. So you know what? Let them make the playoffs. They want to make the playoffs. Actually, just don't let the Penguins make the playoffs. On March 17th, just beat the Penguins, and then they're fine. The Penguins can't afford to lose much more. They have such a hard schedule. Tuesday, they take on the Columbus Blue Jackets. That's going to be a super hard game for them. I mean, Columbus is a much better team than them. Columbus can beat us. But we have for whatever reason, we can never beat Columbus. I don't know what that's all about. But the point is, this is such a huge game. You know, it's outdoors, in front of 70,000 people. It's on NBC, and it's the highest. That is the highest rated outdoor game since 2011 Winter Classic on Heinz Field, Capitals versus Pens. There has not been a higher rated non-Cup final game since 2011 Winter Classic until last night. That was a huge game for people in and out of the sport. For people inside the sport, they knew about the standings. They knew about Gino. And then for people that don't even watch hockey, they turn that game on NBC. They just see Wayne Simmons destroying people, which was one of the greatest things of our generation. They just see all these fights happening. They just see the Penguins getting destroyed into the boards. I mean, how are you not interested by that? The Penguins, one of the greatest dynasties in NHL history, versus the Flyers, a struggling team that is somehow their biggest rival that the Penguins seem to always win in Philadelphia, but this time they couldn't get it. It was a huge game. It was huge.
Okay. Number one, let's all remember, yes, outdoor game. It's a regular season game. I know we can't lose much more, but let's be honest here. I don't think we're making the playoffs. We're so inconsistent. When we make the playoffs, we're going to get swept.
I swore I just heard you say about 2 minutes ago we're making the playoffs.
I did not say that, no. You guys played a good game. You had Brian Elliott start, which is a very questionable call. I personally would have started Carter Hart.
Brian Elliott won the game.
No, you guys. Okay, here's the thing. You guys didn't win the game. We lost the game. We would have won that game if Murray didn't put his paddle down and stop that shot with 16 seconds left.
See, I used to hate Murray, but now Murray is like one of my favorite goalies in the state of Pennsylvania. He's actually my second favorite goalie in the state of Pennsylvania. It's insane because he literally just choked last night. I mean, I know he's Matt Murray, so I shouldn't be expecting that much from him, but.
And this is the thing here that our Crosby is literally your daddy here. And I know we lost this game, but he makes your team look like utter crap. He has scored so many times against you. He makes your team look really bad when he's on the ice. And I know you're going to say, like, he's not supposed to be on this team. Penguins are rigged. Yes, but it's just fun to watch.
That's a total different video for and its own, but...
And just to give you guys if you guys are living under a rock and don't know what happened last night or what we're talking about, the Flyers did edge the Penguins, or if you guys don't speak English, the Evil Empire did defeat the good guys 4-3 in overtime.
Whoa. I think that'd be the other way around. To be an Evil Empire, you have to win a lot, and the Penguins have done that.
We have not done that this year.
Penguins are technically evil empire here. Philadelphia is the amazing underdog that's making an amazing Cinderella story. Okay, so Philadelphia is your Loyola Chicago, and Pittsburgh's your Duke, and Loyola Chicago beat Duke
No,
yesterday.
yesterday.
Pretty crazy game. Yeah, yesterday. Loyola Chicago, the Philadelphia Flyers beat Duke, the Pittsburgh Penguins, and it was an amazing game. If you missed it, that's too bad. You were probably doing something you shouldn't have been doing, and you should have been watching this game because its overnight score was a 5.38.
No, actually, I'm sorry. No. Duke beat Syracuse yesterday.
No. I'm talking about. I'm comparing the Flyers to Loyola Chicago.
Oh, they beat Virginia last.
I'm well aware. That's not what I'm saying. I'm comparing them to something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not actually saying that actually happened. But the point is, I'm happy this game got through because there were some interesting contingencies that the NHL released prior to the game.
I did see that.
That made no sense. So it said, if weather conditions permit, the shootout will be conducted at the link immediately after regulation play has been stopped. If weather conditions make it impossible to conduct a shootout at the link, the shootout will take place at PPG Paints Arena on Sunday, March 17th, prior to the regularly scheduled game, with Philadelphia being the home club for shootout purposes only. That made no sense to me. How can you be the home team for a shootout only? That makes no sense. And then they said if the game is started and then stopped permanently and fewer than 2 periods have been played, the game will be postponed and, if possible, will be played on Sunday. But if they cannot be replayed, it will be rescheduled at the Wells Fargo Center on another date. So they would have had to play like a few months later. And also, they said after the first 2 periods, it was like terrible conditions, the game just ended. The game just ended after 2 periods. The way that the contingencies were set up made no sense.
It didn't.
So thankfully the game got through, because those contingencies did not make much sense.
No, and I didn't get that. Like they said, like there'd be like a shoot around at the Penguins game at the Penguins series, and then they'd like stop, and then there'd be a shootout, which was really dumb. They should have just if they knew it would be bad conditions, then just reset the game or something at the link. It cannot be at Pittsburgh, otherwise that's just boring.
Yeah,
and that just defeats the purpose.
Thankfully, the game was not rescheduled. The game was played through its entirety, and I thought that was just from the minute the puck dropped to the minute the horn sounded at the end. It was actually just a really good game. Even when the Penguins were winning 3-1,
it was a good game. No, even if we lost, it was a good game. It's very physical. It's what you like to see. A lot of fights, and that's what you expect in a rivalry like this. And now we're tied 1-1. We have to do it again. Another 2 years. Wait another 2 years, and we got to do it again. See who wins best of 3. I guess.
That's not happening.
We have to do it again. We can't just leave it at a 1-1 tie.
Don't worry. They'll have, because the NHL is running out of rivalries, and because the NHL knows this is such a money maker this series. This game will definitely be played again. It's not going to be in 2 years. It's going to be a while from now, I think. But this game will be played again. I'm not worried about that at all because the NHL is running out of rivalries. I'm still waiting for the Flyers to play the Capitals in one of these games. That would be
fun, yeah. Or you play the Bruins, but you should play now in the link.
Yeah, but I definitely want to play the Capitals in one of these games, maybe in like Baltimore or something like that. Like a neutral set like Baltimore. But and the Capitals haven't played the Rangers in an outdoor game. Like there's some obvious rivalries that
go West Coast and do rivalries there.
Yeah, Penguins haven't played the Rangers yet. I mean,
that would be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some good games, and I want Tampa to get one because Tampa has a really good market, and they've done it in California. So
but California is different because it can get cold in California. It's impossible.
There can be a nice breeze in Florida.
Yeah, 50 degrees. That's not enough to play hockey.
They played hockey in 45 degrees last night, so that's
that's okay.
Anyway, so let's get on to baseball.
Finally, Nick. So finally, our three favorite words probably in the English language. Baseball is back. Not baseball. It's finally back. Baseball is back. I've been waiting for this ever since Chris Sale struck out Manny Machado in the final game of the World Series. We've been looking through winter meetings with the trade deadline, and finally Machado was traded. We're still waiting on Harper. Games have started. We're about to see who are going to be. It's early. Who might be contenders? Who did well? Who won the off season here? And there's many teams you could have said who won the off season. So the way it's going to work here, we're going to go through every single team through division. Nick will cover the offensive side of the team. I'll cover the defensive side, the pitching core. And we'll just see, and we'll go by who we think will win this division, going to the least. Who we won't think will win this division. Nick.
Yeah. So I think. Do we want to do it like a standing format, like do like first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Yeah, might as well. Yeah.
So I think first place. So we'll start with the AL East.
East.
Right?
Yep. AL East.
Yeah. I think first place in the AL East made a scream. I think first place in the AL East probably be the Boston Red Sox. Can we agree on that? Boston
Yep.
will win the AL East?
Yes.
Okay. So Boston, they won 108 games last year, which was a franchise record. They won 11-3 in the postseason on their way to the World Series, and they've won 3 straight AL East titles. So I'm very interested to see what this team has to offer this year. I think they could possibly make it 4 straight AL East titles. They're going to have some competition from their biggest rival and one of the biggest rivalries in sports, the New York Yankees. But I think their offense is pretty set. You have Mookie Betts and JD Martinez, 2 out of the 3 best players in the American League right there. Obviously, the third one being Mike Trout at the moment. Mike Trout could definitely make a move after the 2020 season. But for now, they are 2 of the 3 best. So I think their offense is pretty set. You also have Xander Bogaerts. You have Dustin Pedroia is coming back from injury. This offense is really set. Now, obviously, the big issue for this team that Millan's about to cover is the bullpen. Obviously, the back of the bullpen is a big question mark for this Boston Red Sox team. But their offense is pretty set, in my opinion. I honestly think, we've seen what this team has been able to do, and I think there's no reason why they couldn't do it again. I would think they're going to get around 102, 103 wins again this year, right around where they got a little bit less than they got last year, but still pretty close to where they got last year. So, you want to cover that pitching and defense there, Mill?
Yeah, and everyone was looking when they lost in the 2016 playoffs. We were against the Astros. We were not totally surprised. Why? Because they had Sale, and that was it. Because Price couldn't pitch, we couldn't have Porcello pitch, and Vasquez couldn't pitch at all. He was terrible. And the reason why I thought they won this World Series last year was their pitching stepped up immensely. Not their bullpen, their starting rotation. Sale, you could have got Sale, you got good 7 innings out of them, and we know Price to be a great regular season pitcher, but a terrible postseason pitcher. Him, Porcello, and Eovaldi stepped up huge. They're able to get 6, 7, 8, even 8 innings out of them, which helped them in their rotation because in their bullpen. Sorry, because like you said, their bullpen is very soft. They don't have anyone. Matt Barnes can go 1 inning, 1 to 2 innings. You have Craig Kimbrell, who's on free agency list. He hasn't been signed yet, so they don't know if he's even staying. Tyler Clippard was on that team for a little bit, but he left. And this is a bullpen that needs to step up. But then you could also say that if their rotation can carry them, then this is going to be a pretty solid team. They didn't do much in the offseason. Alex Cora, give him a lot of credit. He's a rookie manager for this team and was able to make this fix their pitching problem by bringing in Eovaldi and fixed up Vasquez and Price and Porcello. These were the guys that won the World Series for this Boston Red Sox team.
Yeah, I think this is Boston. I think Boston's an interesting team. But second place, we have the New York Yankees, who really had a big offseason this year, addressing their starting line or their starting rotation. And their bullpen. But I think this offense could also be interesting. I think if Gary Sanchez can bounce back from a rough year last year, Luke Voigt can duplicate his late season heroics. I think we have a really potent offense here for the New York Yankees. I think they could end up being a really good offensive team if Gary Sanchez bounces back. You have Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, who are 2 of your launch angle type of guys. Home runs only, no strikeouts, or a lot of strikeouts, a lot of home runs. But I think the Yankees definitely have something interesting here, and I think they're probably a 100-win team. And them in Boston are definitely going to be having some interesting late season series come September.
Yeah, and this is a team that had a chance at Boston, but then just gave it away. And it came down also. I'm going to go back to offense quickly. On paper, they have a really dangerous offense with Judge, Stanton, and Sanchez. They didn't really do well last year. Sorry. So hopefully see how they could do this year. But going to their 2019 projected starting rotation, I see Luis Severino being their ace. Last year at a 3.39 ERA, went 19-8, 220 Ks. He's the bulk of this rotation. He's going to be your game 1 starter, or at home game 5 starter when you want to win that series. He's a guy that has been very strong with the Yankees and had a rough go coming after the month after the All-Star break, posting up a 6.7 ERA. Luckily able to bring that down. But he's been solid at the beginning of the year and towards the end of the year. The number 2 pitcher that I think will be on this in this rotation, James Paxton, the new acquisition from the Mariners. He went 11-6, 3.76 ERA. He had a lot of good games with the Mariners, good shutouts. He went the distance a lot. He's a guy that you have back-to-back games and you have maybe a Saturday night game going 18 innings, using up a lot of that rotation. You have James Paxton don't be worried because James Paxton is a guy who can take you 9 innings and maybe even 10 if we need him. He's thrown many perfect games before, a couple no-hitters. So he's a guy definitely to look and see if you need him to go 9 innings, definitely he will go. Masahiro Tanaka, he's a guy that he's interesting because you do not, when it comes to a playoff, you do not want him to start at Yankee Stadium. Why? Because he's a fly ball pitcher. What that means is that he leads the league in fly balls. So he gets most of his outs are fly balls. He only had 164 strikeouts last year, which isn't bad. But what he does is he's a contact pitcher, and most of them are fly balls. And since Yankee Stadium is not a big stadium, most of those fly balls are gonna be hit out. So look for Tanaka to be starting at big stadiums like San Francisco, for instance. I know they're playing them. That's someone that you definitely see starting. So he's gonna be interesting to see if he can change his slider and his sinker, especially split ball, to be lower in the zone rather than up in the zone, because he's gonna get killed if he keeps his breaking pitches up in the zone. Jay Happ, acquisition with the Blue Jays a couple years ago, came back to the Yankees. He was great against the Red Sox. He was able to subdue the Red Sox to 2 to 3 runs a game against the Red Sox, and that's enough to keep them winning. Went 11-9, 3.84 ERA. CC Sabathia, he's going to be retiring at the end of the year. Look for him to do well. He's always pitched well with the Yankees. He had a high ERA at a 3.9, but he's a Yankee favorite, and he's going to do well this year, especially since it's going to be his last year.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I mean, you have J.A. Happ, who's obviously the late season. You have really helped him down the stretch. Zach Britton come back. The addition of Adam Ottavino. That's going to make the bullpen a big weapon.
Especially with Betances. Betances has to come back strong because he let the gas off, especially in the postseason. The push to the postseason. Starting until July and August, he had a 1.67 ERA coming out of the bullpen. August to September into the playoffs, he had a 6.2 ERA. He didn't do well. Look for him and most of that was Tanaka's problem. He kept the ball too high in the zone, and that's going to get hit out, especially in a small ballpark like Yankee Stadium.
Yep. So going on to the next team here in third place in the AL East, Tampa Bay Rays, finished the year really good, 19 wins in September, and I think that while the offense is still going to be obviously big, run producers, really the pitching staff for Tampa, they could end up being probably one of the best pitching staffs in baseball. You have Tyler Glasnow, who is I think he's going to be having a breakout year. You have Brent Honeywell. He's going to be joining the rotation by mid-season. And you have your reigning AL Cy Young winner, Blake Snell. And you bring in Charlie Morton from the free agent signing. So this is a really, really interesting team here because they play in probably the toughest division in baseball. Two of the best teams in baseball in this division, but yet they could still make the playoffs. The AL East could have 3 teams in the playoffs because they could easily get 90 wins. That could obviously be huge for them.
Mm-hmm. Now, yeah, you could say that. I mean, their offense isn't that very good. You have Austin Meadows, who came from the Pirates, Matt Duffy, Jake Bowers, Michael Perez. No one that will raise eyebrows. And if we're going to make the playoffs, it's going to be because of their pitching. Obviously, Blake Snell is going to be your ace. With Tyler Glasnow, yes, he didn't do well with the Pittsburgh Pirates at like a 10 ERA. They're terrible. But I think new scenery might help for Tyler Glasnow. And yes, you have Charlie Morton, who's been absolutely amazing after leaving the Pirates and going to the Astros. He did well. His velocities increased. He's added more pitches with his cutter. And he added a slider-type pitch that's a mix of a slider and a curve. And now he has options with pitch counts. And he's throwing consistently 96, 97. So this is a guy you can easily go Snell, Morton, 1-2, and that's going to be a pretty dirty rotation. And you have Chaz Rowe, Jose Alvarado, Diego Castillo, Yanni Quiznos, and Jalen Beeks in your bullpen. So that's going to be interesting to see how they can keep up with the big guys like the Red Sox and the Yankees.
Yeah, and these last 2 teams, Toronto and Baltimore, I'm just going to merge them together because neither of them have much to talk about. Both of them are going to be pretty bad this year. Toronto probably only going to run around 70 wins. Baltimore probably going to be around 55 or 60 wins. Like, neither of these teams are going to be very good. Obviously, Toronto has the top prospects, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., some other pretty high-end guys to keep things interesting there in the Great White North. But Baltimore, I don't see anything anything good in sight, which for me is good because, tickets will be cheap for Camden Yards, and Camden Yards is a beautiful ballpark. But I don't see the Orioles or the Blue Jays doing much, if anything, this year. Again, I think they're both just nothing.
I agree, and it doesn't help. It doesn't help that the Rays now have gotten a lot better. The Red Sox are staying strong, and the Yankees are staying strong, and they didn't do anything in the free agency either, and that's something you got to look for. If you want to do well, you got to do well in the free agency, and they may not have a lot of money. That's the thing about MLB. If you're not a good team, that means you don't have a lot of money. The Red Sox, Yankees have been consistently good because they have a lot of money. Same with the Dodgers. You have the Blue Jays with Marcus Stroman, and that's it for your rotation. So that's gonna be interesting to see what they will do. You have Aaron Sanchez, who's old. Matt Shoemaker. Clayton Richards. So these are guys that we don't really hear often. So it'll be interesting. And the same with the Orioles. They have no one. Got rid of Machado. A long time ago got rid of Machado, and they don't have really anyone now to help them in their rotation.
Yeah, so moving on to the AL Central, and I think easily, I don't even think there's any debate here for first place in the AL Central. The Cleveland Indians, they've cruised to 3 straight titles here. They've gotten those 3 straight titles by a combined 40 games, and I don't see any end in sight for their reign over this division.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they probably have the best starting rotation in baseball.
One of the debatable, obviously.
Debatable, but I think they're definitely up there. Corey Kluber, Trevor Bauer, Carlos Carrasco, Mike Clevenger, Shane Bieber. Shane Bieber, I think he's going to break out this year.
Yes, definitely. That's what I think, too.
There are holes in the outfield and at catcher, but you have Francisco Lindor and Jose Ramirez with that offense.
Carlos Santana.
Carlos Santana's not there. Carlos Santana's not there anymore. He's in Seattle. He was in Philly last year.
Yes, that's true, yeah.
But I think they should, get enough runs to back this pitching staff, and they should probably win this division again comfortably by probably, I would say, around 8-9 games. I don't really think it's going to be that big of a race down to the stretch. Yeah,
and I like their rotation. Trevor Bauer's been always consistently good. Corey Kluber's always been consistently good. He's up there. They're up there with tied with the most number of strikeouts. With Verlander and Cole. Clevenger's gotten better. I remember his rookie year, he was terrible, and he's gotten consistently better. Shane Bieber, he wasn't as good last year, and that also it's his off speed. It's very predictable, and he keeps it up in the zone. And you see these pitchers, when they get hit, it's because of their off speed or their fastballs. They leave it up in the zone where hitters love to hit it, and they can take it out of the ballpark. Now you've seen Shane Bieber in the bullpen. Not in the bullpen, in practices, taking bullpen sessions. You see him now starting to lower that fastball and make sure that curveball is in the dirt. So on an 0-2 pitch, no one hits that. So this is and obviously Francisco Lindor, arguably one of the best shortstops right now. Luplo might be a breakout year. So so there's holes in the outfield, but that can always be addressed. Definitely. They're going to definitely win that division.
Yeah, and in I think second place, but there could definitely be just some debate here. I think it's probably going to be Minnesota, though.
Yeah.
They made the playoffs 2 years ago, surprisingly. They took a step backwards last year. And I think it's a make-or-break year for Byron Buxton and Miguel Sano. They both underperformed last year. But I think if they can play the way they did 2 years ago, and that rotation holds up with Jose Barrios, they should make the playoffs again. I guess they could, they don't have a great bullpen. They got Blake Parker and Trevor May. I guess they could still try to go after Craig Kimbrell. But this team doesn't have a lot. Byron Buxton and Miguel Sano need to play a lot better than they did last year. Jose Barrios obviously is a great pitcher. But I would say this is probably an 85-win team. So we'll see what happens.
Somewhere around there, yeah. And this is not a rotation. Apparently they have Michael Pineda now on this team. I'm surprised. I didn't know that, but he's still injured. This is Jose Barrios is going to carry this team. 12-9 last year, 3.86. That's not really great, but it's not bad. And they have a 6-person rotation, so everyone's going to pitch once a week potentially. So that's going to be very interesting. Gives them a lot of rest, but I don't really see them going anywhere Maybe a wild card spot, but probably not, just because of how the AL East is shaping up.
I honestly could see the Yankees and the Rays getting the 2 wild card spots, unless maybe Oakland makes a run for it. I could honestly see the Yankees playing the Rays.
Yeah.
But these last 3 teams in the Central, again, I'm just going to combine these last 3 teams.
Yeah.
There's not much to talk about any of them. The White Sox, in my opinion, are probably a 75-win team, but they could do a bit better than that. Because even though they didn't end up signing Machado and they're not going to sign Harper, they have that Eloy Jimenez, who is going to provide a major boost offensively, their top prospect. And they added Ivan Nova, Alex Colon, and Kelvin Herrera. So that's really going to make that young pitching staff a lot better for the White Sox.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Royals, they have a pretty big rebuild ahead of them. They don't have a great farm system, but they're probably a lot better than the Tigers this year. Both of them are probably going to lose at least 100 games. I say the Royals are they're both probably 60-win teams.
Mm-hmm. And it's disappointing because the Royals have a really nice stadium, like I said earlier, and it's going to be interesting to see what the Royals did, because they didn't do anything in the offseason. They said specifically that they would do a lot during the offseason. They would get new guys, and the White Sox said they wanted to go after Machado, and they didn't, which obviously helped the Indians, because that's not a threat now that the Indians have to worry about. But this is a team this is a division that's very one-sided for the Indians going, and they're going to be probably a 3 seed come playoff time.
Agree. I don't think that any of these other teams, the White Sox, Royals, or Tigers, or anything, to be scared of. And I think they're all just gonna. I like when you watch any of those teams play each other. I don't even know who to win those games. I mean, none of these teams are very good. But I think that moves on to the AL West.
AL West is going to be very interesting. Obviously, number 1 we're going to say is going to be the Astros, and it's in my opinion.
No, I agree. I think the Astros are easily first place.
And this is a rotation that last year was, in my opinion, the best rotation in the MLB, because you had Verlander, you had Cole, you had Morton, you had Keuchel, and you had McCullers Jr. All these guys threw consistently 95 or more with dirty off speed. Now they got rid of Morton. Keuchel's a free agent. They've dropped off a little bit, but their offense, Nick, is still very hot.
Oh, agree. I mean, the Astros have had 100-win seasons for two straight years now, and they're the clear favorites to win this division once again. Obviously, Charlie Morton's gone. Dallas Keithley left. Lance McCullers Jr. is out for the year, but they brought in Wade Miley and Josh James, so that's going to help your rotation out a little bit. You got, on the offensive side, they've added Michael Brantley to an amazing offense, and I think Carlos Correa is going to be a lot better than he was last year. So this is an even more productive lineup than last year, and this pitching staff is still amazing with Verlander, and Verlander leading the rotation, but other guys obviously there also.
Yeah, I agree. McCullers Jr., he's going to be a big blow to this team. But Wade Miley he's not the worst option, but he's definitely going to be a guy that needs to step up for this team. Obviously, Verlander and Cole get the nods for opening day. But yeah, this is a team that's going to be, and you need to get back Keuchel. He's a lefty. He's the only lefty, and he's a guy who you need. And last year they fell short to the Red Sox because of their bullpen. Couldn't keep up. They addressed some of their problems with the bullpen, adding some good prospects to their team. But it's gonna be interesting to see how their pitching steps up, because we know their offense is still stacked and ready to go.
Yeah, and I think second place could definitely be debated, but I think it's gonna end up being Oakland. Oakland definitely surprised some people last year. Got 97 wins, went to the wild card, but this team is pretty good on the offensive side of the ball. You have Matt Chapman, who's probably a superstar, and guys like Matt Olson, Chris Davis, Steve Piscotty, a really underrated offense. The bullpen, obviously a weapon with Blake Treinen, just amazing. But this starting rotation is what really concerns me.
Mm-hmm.
It's being led by Mike Fiers and Marco Estrada. I don't really know if that's a type of starting rotation that can lead you to a playoff berth. I think, again, this is probably a team that's going to miss the playoffs by like 4 or 5 games because the starting rotation is just a little scary.
Now, Marco Estrada came from the Blue Jays, as we all know, behind Marco Stroman. So he does have some experience, and he's been pretty good when he was on the Blue Jays. Now he posted up a 4.93 ERA, which isn't great. But yeah, again, like you said, the bullpen is going to be very, and their start is going to be very interesting. You need to get, come playoff time or trade deadline time, you need to get someone. That's like a franchise player that you can trust. and that will be your ace come forward.
Agree, definitely agree. Third place, I think, is going to be the Angels. Obviously, you have Mike Trout still there, but they have nothing else. They signed Matt Harvey and Trevor Cahill to one-year deals, but let's remember, this isn't 2014. They've added Jonathan Lucroy, who's a nice veteran catcher there. Definitely helps things out there.
Mm-hmm.
Still, I think this is, a 500 team. They're not. I don't think they're a playoff contender. I think if they fall out of contention, around July 4th or right after July 4th, around the deadline, they might need to, actually consider taking some offers for Trout, because I don't think he would go back to a team like this.
Definitely. And you look at this offense, and this is actually not a bad offense. Cole Calhoun's been pretty well. 18 home runs, 234 average. Mike Trout, obviously. Justin Upton. Justin Bohr from the Marlins, 19 home runs, 254. He can slug. Old veteran Albert Pujols, he's been great. Jonathan Lucroy, Zach Kozar from the Reds. These are guys that are not, they have experience playing in the MLB, so it's not a really young team, but then again, it's going to be this rotation here with Andrew Heaney with a 4.22 ERA, went 10-10. Matt Harvey's going to be probably your ace, but he didn't do well. He went 6-11, 4.68 last year. So, and you have guys Trevor Cahill from the Indians, Jamie Berria. So these are guys that we haven't really heard of. So it'll be interesting to see if they can prove themselves, and if they can, we might see them put a push. But we also have Shohei Ohtani. No one can forget about him. We'll see what he does, if he will play the offense side of the ball or the pitching side of the ball, because he's good at both. But he's going to probably have to choose one come season if he wants to stay healthy.
Agree. And then we obviously have the last two teams in this division. One of them is,
the last one. Yeah.
Yeah, the Mariners and the Rangers.
The Rangers.
Yeah, the Rangers. The Mariners. Oh my God.
This is the Mariners team that last year they impressed me. They did, because they literally cleared out their whole team, and they made a push for the playoffs, but they cleared out their team even more. They got rid of a lot of players. They did pick up Encarnacion. They picked up Jay Bruce, but then again, you got rid of James Paxton, went to the Yankees, who was one of your best pitchers. Now you have Mike Leake. Old Felix Hernandez, Wade LeBlanc, who absolutely is terrible, Marco Gonzalez. These are guys. You got D. Gordon, got rid of Robbie Cano. So these are guys. This is going to be a team that's going to be a sub 500 team, probably from the majority, or at 500 for. I'm going to say at a 500 team.
I would say this is probably max a 77-win team. This is not a good team at all.
I don't think it's going to be that bad as people say. Obviously,
they are. They got rid of literally everybody that was they literally got rid of anybody that got them to that 89-win season last year. They got rid of Paxton, they got rid of Cano, they got rid of everybody.
But they did pick up Encarnacion. You got picked up Encarnacion. It's not going to be.
I think this is a pretty bad.
This is not going to be one of the worst teams in MLB, but
they're not going to be one of the worst teams in MLB, but they're like a 77-win team. Like, they're not that good.
Yeah, no, definitely they won't. Last year they made a push for the playoffs at the end. This year they will be nowhere near a push for the playoffs.
Yeah, and then the other team in this division that has no chance at anything is the Rangers. Adrian Beltre leaving, but you still got, I think they're gonna be making some big moves come deadline time. Mike Minor, Joey Gallo, Rude Dodor. These are all guys I see being traded at the deadline or a few weeks before the deadline. This is going to be a big seller at the deadline, trying to bring some prospects in.
Joel Cabrera, who's been fine. Chu's been old.
Make this a good team for the new ballpark next year.
There is no good pitching here. You got Lance Lynn, Mike Minor, Shelby Miller, Drew Slimy, Edison Volquez, and Jason Hamill. All of these guys except Drew Slimy have been veteran pitchers, but they haven't been good veteran pitchers. Every single one of these pitchers in this rotation right now are above 4 ERA, with a 4.12, 4.03, 4.79, 4.5, 4.4, and 4.42. There's no way they're going to contend for anything, let alone get a push. Like you said, if I was the Rangers, start new. Sell, get rid of your management, start fresh if you want to make a chance for a push later in a couple years.
And now we come to my favorite division, the most, in my opinion, probably going to be the most competitive division of baseball.
Yeah, well, I can see that, yes.
The NL East.
It's going to be this and the NL and the NL Central.
I think the NL Central is a 3-team race. This is a 4-team race, so I think 4 is greater than 3.
I think the Reds can make a push this year. I think that what the Reds did this year was.
No.
Oh, I think so.
No. But this is the NL East. This is the one that people are talking about. This is the one.
Oh yeah.
So I'm actually just gonna give you my standing predictions and go into each team because this is my division. So
I'll give you. Yeah, you can talk about your division here.
So we got the Braves, and I think the Braves are gonna win this division once again. I think they're gonna get around 97 wins. I think they're gonna have a good team this year. Second place, if they can land Harper, I think the Phillies are second place in this division with 93 wins. I think in third place you have the Nationals with 90 wins, Mets in fourth place with 85 wins, and the Marlins in last place with 52 wins. The Braves, they took advantage of a pretty bad year from the rest of the division. They improved drastically. 2 years ago, they had 75 wins. Last year, they had, I believe, 90 wins. So that's huge. They won their first NL East title in 5 years. You have Ronald Acuna Jr. and Ozzie Albies, along with Freddie Freeman, and a lot of good pitching talent there. Mike Fulton Wentz, Kevin Gausman. Things are really up and up in Atlanta. The pressing question is whether they can hold off the rest of the teams in this division and return to the playoffs, because obviously Washington and Philadelphia and even the Mets are going to be very hard competition this year. And all those divisional games besides the Marlins, very hard. And that's so if you take out the Marlins games, that's like 60, 70 games there. They're going to be super hard. Then you have the Phillies, who are probably going to land Harper, but they also got Andrew McCutchen, Gene Segura, Dave Robertson, JT Realmuto. There is no question this is the best team that Philadelphia has seen since probably 2012.
2008.
No, they've had teams. This is not good as 2008, but
when you won the last one, when you last won the World Series with like Halladay.
This isn't a World Series team though.
Okay.
I'll tell you when there's a World Series team. This isn't a World Series team. This is a team that's going to make the playoffs. So 2011, 2012.
Okay. Yeah, but I do see that.
So this is a team that's going to make the playoffs, but they're not going to win the World Series. So point is a very good team, and I'm very excited to see this team on multiple occasions in person this year, and try to watch 162 games on television at least, or around whatever games I don't go to. And then you have the Nationals. Despite the loss of Bryce Harper, they actually might be a better team than they were last year. They're adding Patrick Corbin and Anibal Sanchez to replace Gio Gonzalez and Tanner Roark. They're bringing back Brian Dozier, who I am very excited to see bounce back this year.
Yep.
Victor Robles, he's going to come in here. On paper, I think this might be the most talented team in the division. That said, they are the perfect example of how the game is not played on paper. So, again, I'm very excited to see this team play. I think I'm going to see him a few times in person. I'm very excited to see him play a few times in person. They're a very interesting team. Then you have the Mets. They were probably the busiest team this offseason. They added Robinson Cano and Edwin Diaz in that trade with the Mariners. Then they signed Wilson Ramos, Jed Lowry, and Jeurys Familia. Again, it's going to boil down to the health of the starting rotation that just hasn't really ever been completely healthy in the past 2 to 3 years. But I'm very excited to see this Mets team. Also, and then the Marlins, I don't even know what to say with the Marlins. I mean, the Marlins are the Marlins. They've traded JT Realmuto, so in my opinion, that team is nothing now. That's an easy win every time you play them now.
Yeah, now we're going to go into the NL Central, my division with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Obviously, you're going to have your top guns, top dogs here with the Brewers #1, and I think the Cubs #2. Yes, they haven't really do much in the offseason. I think if, personally, the Brewers get Harper, which they probably won't, that would make it an insane outfield with Kane, Yelich, and Harper. That'd be great. But they still have the good pitching. Obviously, I would add Dallas Keuchel, maybe even to the Phillies, get that one lefty in there. I think the Cubs do well. They didn't really do much. Also, they have, with Lester, Quintana, Hendricks. That's a pitching core that's dying right now. Maybe you can add one more good guy there, a good starter probably by the trade deadline. And you still got Rizzo, Bryan, Addison Russell, Contreras. Those top dogs have been very good. Then I think in third place obviously would be the Cardinals, with the addition of Paul Goldschmidt, helped a lot. They got rid of Ozuna. Oh, no, they kept Ozuna. They got rid of Tommy Pham. And their pitching has been mediocre. That's the problem. Adam Wainwright hasn't been how he was a couple of years ago. And their bullpen has been very faulty, giving up runs late in the game, which you don't need to see. The Reds are looking good. They got a lot of good players. I don't think they won't make a push for the playoffs at all. I think they will be maybe a 500 team, maybe below 500. But you're going to go to my team, the Pirates. This is you're gonna be all you guys are gonna laugh at me, but you stay with me here. I'm not gonna say the Pirates will make the playoffs. They might make a push. I don't think they will, but don't count out the Pittsburgh Pirates. You know, here's the reason why. The Pirates are in a very I don't know what happened. Nick just left. Hold on. Nick, you okay?
Yes, lost connection to you for a second.
My bad. Okay, so I was talking about the Pittsburgh Pirates, and I said they won't make the playoffs, but I think they'll make a push. And don't count on the Pirates just yet. I know it's the Pirates and they haven't been really well since the 1970s, but I think the Pirates are gonna make a. Don't count them out, you know, because they're in a very tough division. You know, with the Cubs and the Bruins having won 95 games, 96 games, 2018 respectively, with the Cardinals and Reds getting significantly better this offseason. So this is the reason I think the Pirates will do well. You know, obviously the rotation is very strong. You got Jameson Taylor, Chris Archer, Trevor Williams, Joe Musgrove, and Jordan Lyons. This rotation can be very good. You also have Francisco Liriano, who can be in the bullpen, but he's also got the arm to go the full game if you need to. You got the rotation; it can be great. You know, keep a team in games, especially when the offense finds its identity. You got outfielders like Corey Dickerson, Starling Marte, Gregory Polanco, Lonnie Chisenhall. As long as he stays healthy, same with Polanco. He has to get back with that knee injury. Corner infielders have gotten better with Josh Bell, Colin Moran. They've gotten better. They've developed that pressure of carrying anything. So the Bucks have good prospects also with Mitch Keller and third baseman Cabrian Haynes, who also looked very good in spring training. They played in the winter leagues down in Arizona, and they looked great. You also have Jung Ho Gung, who's been great. He could be your shortstop for the year. Also might be your backup third baseman. Adam Frazier's looking great. He's always been great. He's a good leadoff guy in replace of Josh Harrison that left. So this is going to be a very interesting team. And like most teams, it's going to be down to their bullpen. Last year, coming out of the All-Star break, the Pirates had one of the best bullpens with a .7 ERA. Leading that by their fireman, Felipe Vasquez, who's been great. Their lefty, you know, Kyle Crick, Kona Kella, who they just added. And you can see maybe Francisco Liriano in that bullpen, depending on what they do. But this is going to be not a playoff team, but a push team that might give maybe teams like the Brewers and the Cubs a run for their money.
Okay, yeah, I definitely agree. I think if that team's in the American League, they're probably a wild card team. But they play in the National League. They got
They're in a hell of a tough division, and that's why we probably won't see them in the playoffs this year. They could be a second wild card, but But that's asking way too much, because the Brewers or the Cubs are gonna get that one of the wild card spots.
Agree, and the NL East is definitely gonna have a wild card spot, whether that be Washington or Philly.
Yeah. Or I also think Philly can make. They could probably win the division if they find their identity early in the season.
Yeah, I'd win the division. I just don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
All these new faces.
Yeah.
And now we go to the NL West,
which is probably one of the weaker divisions we've seen.
Agree, but I think the addition of Manny Machado to this division.
I don't think that's gonna do anything, in my opinion.
I think it makes it interesting. I think it makes it a lot more interesting.
Obviously, you have the defending NL champs, the Dodgers.
Didn't won 6 straight NL West divisions, and I don't think this is the year that's going to change. I think obviously Justin Turner, Hyun-Jin Ryu, that's really going to improve the team. Corey Seager all coming back. You got Walker Buehler.
Walker Buehler is a young talent who's going to replace Kershaw if Kershaw ever gets injured. He did great in the postseason.
And there's a lot of talent in the farm system.
Yeah.
To serve as for trades. So I think this is a very.
You got Rich Hillstead, Julio Urias, Kenta Maeda. This is a team that won't do great in the postseason, but they're good enough to win their division.
Yeah, easily.
And this is a really good lineup. We got Pollock, Seager, Turner, Bellinger, Muncy, Taylor, Peterson, and Russell Martin. So it's going to be very... And then you also have Puig. So it'll be very interesting to see what they can do in the postseason.
Puig's in Cincinnati.
Yeah, what am I thinking? My bad. Yeah, Puig's in Cincinnati. But yeah, this is going to be a very good team that will probably rule this division for the most part. Secondly, in this... who do you think?
Colorado.
That's what I think too.
Colorado.
I think Colorado doesn't have the pieces to make a championship run, But they have
No,
a
but they have Kyle Freeland and German Marquez atop the rotation. Probably the best pitchers they've had in the history of the franchise.
oh yeah.
You have John Gray. If he can be consistent and pitch up to his potential, this is legitimately good rotation. And then you have Nolan Arenado, Charlie Blackmon, David Dahl with the offense. And don't bet against a big year from Daniel Murphy. But again, there are a lot of questions from the pitching staff.
The
where you
rotation,
kind of
the
tone it down.
bullpen, especially their bullpen. We didn't see anything happening out of their bullpen this off season, so it'll be very interesting to see. Maybe they get Craig Kimbrell. That'd help a lot for their end the games, because the Rockies led the league in blown saves last year.
Yeah.
So
Third place is definitely debatable.
I'm gonna go with the Rockies, not the Rockies, the Diamondbacks.
Diamondbacks. Okay, so the Diamondbacks, obviously, they are going for the full-blown rebuild. They traded Goldschmidt. There could still be some more coming up the deadline. But for now, that roster is still a 500 team.
Mm-hmm.
Zach Greinke, Robbie Ray, plus atop the staff. And then David Peralta coming off a big year.
Yep.
And Miguel Marte looking big for a breakout year after a huge month of September to end the year last year. So this is an interesting team, but definitely look like they're going to be going into maybe some type of rebuild, but I think they're still good enough to be a 500-win team.
Yeah, 500, maybe a little bit above 500. Like you said, the rotation is pretty solid, not bad. The lineup, with Kendall Marte, Eduardo Escobar, David Peralta, Steven Souza, Jake Lamb, Wilmer Flores from the Mets, Nick Ahmed, and Alex Avila. They're okay, but you needed someone like Paul Goldschmidt. Now he left, so this is going to be a team that's going to dip below 500 probably.
Yeah.
And then
So,
the team,
the Padres. The most debated team in the last 10 days.
And this is not. Yes, they got Machado, but this is not going to be a team that will make anywhere close to noise in the playoff system.
I mean, here's the thing. I think they have some big prospects. You have Fernando Tatis Jr., who'll be up before the break. Luis Urias will probably have a starting job.
Will Myers has always been good.
Yeah. Will Myers, sorry. This group is still probably a year away, but if these younger guys can make a smooth transition, maybe they make a wild card. I don't see it happening.
I don't.
The NL is so stacked, but don't be surprised if you see their name up there. 5 games out, 10 games out. But I don't think they make it. But I think they're definitely a contender. I think the Phillies, Nationals, Cardinals, and Cubs or Brewers are probably the teams to watch out for in the wild card race. And then the Giants.
Hold on, before we go to the Giants, like you said, might make noise. I definitely don't think they'll make noise anywhere time soon, unless you change the pitching. We've always said pitching wins, defenses win championships. This rotation is absolutely abysmal. You have Joey Lucchesi, 4.22, Robbie Irwin, 3.29, Brian Mitchell, 5.92, Eric Lauer, 6.02, Luis Pedmardo, 4.23. So this is a rotation that gives up runs. And if there's somewhere that Ian Kinsler, Machado, Hosmer, Myers, Margaret, Urias, if they can score more than 6-7 runs a game, maybe we'll be fine. But I just don't see that happening.
Agree. And then we have the Giants, who, for whatever reason, aren't admitting the fact that they need to rebuild. And I think that they're probably going to trade Bumgarner before the year ends. But this core is just dying, and this core that led them to 3 World Series in 6 years is dying, and they need to start trading guys, sooner than later.
Yeah, and this is a 7-guy rotation, especially last year with Baumgartner, Jeff Samardzija, who's been injured, Derek Holland, Derek Rodriguez, Andrew Suarez, Ty Black, Drew Pomeranz. All these guys have 4 ERAs, except Baumgartner, who has 3.74. This lineup's been old, You got Steven Dugar, Joe Panic, Evan Longoria's been pretty solid. Buster Posey, he's getting old. Brandon Belt's been okay. Brandon Crawford's been a strong, solid shortstop for this team. Chris Shaw and Mac Williamson. So this is going to be a mix of young and old guys. You need to, and yes, definitely trade Baumgartner, trade Samardzija, get new guys, new cores up there, because if you can, maybe this might be a contending team to 2022, 2021.
Agree. So we'll see what happens in the Bay Area.
Now, I know this is very early. Spring training has just started, A lot of teams we've seen look strong. let's go World Series predictions. Way too early World Series predictions. Who you got?
Way too early World Series predictions. Let's go with. Oof, let's go with Houston in the American League. Right, I think that's pretty fair. Let's go with Houston in the American League taking on. Do I have the balls to say it? Do I have?
Yes,
the
you do.
balls to say it?
Yes, you do.
Okay, we're gonna do Houston versus Atlanta.
Wow. Did you have the balls to say it? That's interesting. Houston versus Atlanta. Okay. Me, I like what the Boston Red Sox have done. I loved what Alex Cora did with this team. He should have won Manager of the Year. I don't know why he didn't. But I love what he did to completely turn this team around. I love Benintendi. He's been great. Mookie Betts, he's going to stay strong. I think this pitching core will find its identity. I think the bullpen will help themselves out. I like the Boston Red Sox going into the and they proved to us that they can win series going deep into the games and deep into the series and still have like teams like Price and Porcello pitch well. So I think they're going to win the AL. And this is
and for all of you that are watching spring training right now, especially the man I'm on the phone with, just remember spring training games don't really matter, especially ones on Saturday, February 23rd at 1:00 at Spectrum Field.
where Pirates did beat the Phillies. But yeah, this is the thing. The Pirates fans always pay attention during spring training because that's where we actually win games. But we don't really win games in the regular season. But yeah, like I said, so I think the Red Sox are going to win the AL. And this is, do I have the balls to say this? I think I do, and you're going to be very surprised. I say the Dodgers are going to make the World Series. Why?
Okay, it's not that bad.
Why? Because
So you're saying we're gonna see a
rematch. Why? Because last year the Dodgers were nowhere near. They shouldn't have made the World Series, let alone make any type of run, because there were so many better teams within Atlanta. Even I don't think they made the playoffs. I think they did. Atlanta, Brewers. You also had the Cubs. A lot of better teams that could have made the World Series, but nothing happened. So I think they're the New England Patriots. The Patriots shouldn't have won because there were so many better teams that could have beaten them, but they somehow still made it. And I think it's because they're LA and it's a money business. Boston versus LA. Walker Buehler is going to lead this team, but I think Boston's going to win the World Series again in 5-6 games. But that's going to wrap it up. That's our full MLB preview. If you have any questions you want us to answer on a future podcast, or any disagreements, do DM us. My Instagram is millan.jain, millan.jain, or my Twitter, millan_jain, millan_jain. I'll put that in the description. I'll put Nick's Instagram, and Nick, you have a Twitter.
My Instagram is urkel.nick, and my Twitter is my Twitter is Urkel_Nick. So go check those out and DM us for questions.
Anything you want us to talk about on this channel. We had a lot of stuff we didn't cover between Robert Kraft, Duke. A lot of huge news coming in that came out over the past week. Probably going to get a video tomorrow if we're free to talk about what happened throughout the week in sports. So look forward to that, and then we'll give you another podcast on Sunday. We don't know what we're going to talk about. But yeah, so a lot of stuff to talk about. College hoops, more MLB stuff, NFL stuff, because the Combine's happening soon. And we'll see you guys next time.
Yes, we will.